when he said over the weekend to a heckler, she should get the hell knocked out of her. Mommy should beat the hell out of her. Are you condoning that as well? Because he seems to do this all the time. He said that to in regards to a heckler over the weekend.
I don't know. I didn't see that part, so I can't comment on it. I'm sure there's other context missing, but I don't want to speak on things I don't know about.
He said, quote, "Go home to mommy to get the hell knocked out of her." Quote, verbatim. I mean, can you imagine if Kamala Harris made a statement like that at one of her rallies to a Trump supporter that was there?
Well, depends on what accent she's using. I don't know. I think there's a lot of dangerous rhetoric coming out of the left, and I think when you've had has, and thank God for this, nobody has attempted to assassinate Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, but people have tried now twice to assassinate Donald Trump. So under these circumstances, you can't tweet political violence has no place in our society, and then in the next moment go back to the same rhetoric that people can misinterpret and use.
How could somebody misinterpret Donald Trump as a threat to democracy? I'll say it every single day until Election Day, and I'll say it proudly and gladly. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. He is a threat to the United States of America. I point out January 6th. I point out the $2.1 billion Jared Kushner received from the Saudis when he didn't bring Mike Pompeo out there. He gave Vladimir Putin COVID tests in the middle of COVID and told Putin to keep it quiet. How is that not a threat to our democracy?
Listen, you are a radio host and a good one. You're a radio host. You have a right to say those things. I believe in the First Amendment. So when you say Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, cool. You have an audience, you have an opinion, and you're entitled to it. But when Kamala Harris says that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, when Joe Biden says Donald Trump when the president of the United States calls their political rival, who, by the way, is being investigated and or indicted by their own Justice Department, when they call him a threat to democracy, that's a much different situation. In my opinion, I think that's dangerous rhetoric.
I'm just confused at that. I really am. And the reason why I'm confused is because he still is an election denier. And I believe any election denier is a threat to democracy. And every single day we hear Donald Trump, in my personal opinion, using very dangerous rhetoric. Kamala Harris is not responsible for a 20-year-old Republican trying to assassinate Donald Trump. Kamala Harris is not responsible for a middle-aged white dude who once was a Trump supporter, now Vivek Ramaswamy supporter, trying to assassinate Donald Trump. I don't know why people would even come close to making that correlation. It just confuses me. It really does.
I don't know. I'm sorry you're confused. I believe some of the rhetoric. I do stand by my statement. I think the rhetoric needs to be toned down. Remember the vice president debate? It wasn't great, but there was a vice presidential debate, and every single person I spoke to that watched a debate, regardless of who they thought won, they said, "Oh, isn't it nice that two people can sit on a debate stage and be civil to each other and get along?"
Donald Trump is incapable of doing that on a debate stage, and you know it.
The way they have treated Donald Trump in the media,
please.
It's what you get.
That's ridiculous.
Barack Obama's rhetoric gave birth to Donald Trump's. It's not like Donald Trump came out of
Donald
nowhere.
Trump for 5 years said Barack Obama wasn't even born in the United States of America.
And he was entitled to say that. Well, he's entitled to say that, just like you're entitled to your opinion. But my point is, the rhetoric didn't originate with Donald Trump. The left's rhetoric against Republicans, against Donald Trump, has been hateful, has been divisive. What Donald Trump is a symptom of the left's hateful rhetoric. And if you want to clean up rhetoric in this country, you got to start with Democrats. They have to stop calling.
Can you find me one Democrat that has a nickname negatively about every single one of their political opponents? Can you find me one Democrat in office today that incited the mob to extort the to go into the Capitol?
Yeah. Nancy Pelosi incited the mob.
Nonsense.
She did not get the Capitol Police.
First of all, you're talking about Nancy Pelosi maybe not securing the Capitol. That's not inciting a violent mob to go to the Capitol. And by the way, that's very debatable.
Rolling out the red carpet for a mob that she knew was coming is just as bad as inciting it.
She did not know the mob was. That's not true. She did not know that was going to happen.
She
and
was
you could also,
and
if you have a problem,
she was asked to increase Capitol Police, and she didn't.
If you have a problem with Nancy Pelosi and what she did that day, why have I never heard you complain about Donald Trump sitting on his ass in the White House for 4 hours and doing nothing? Begged. The first lady was begged. Stephanie Grisham texted her, "Can you please put out a video denouncing the violence?" No, she says. Donald Trump was sitting in the White House for 4 hours. He did absolutely nothing. And people around him who have testified under oath have said that
he tweeted that the people should peacefully assemble. And then 2 hours later, he said, go home. That's what he said
For
in the
4 hours, it took him to put out that video. He was asked, and for 4 hours, he was being begged to put out that video. And you failed to mention in those tweets that was since deleted, he was going after Mike Pence. If only Mike Pence did the right thing. He was continuing the rhetoric while the mob was chanting out, hang Mike Pence. But you want to blame Nancy Pelosi? I'm sorry, dude, but if Donald Trump didn't say it for
allowing
months,
an insurrection. Listen, my opinion is, and of course, this is my tinfoil hat conspiracy. My opinion is they wanted that quote unquote insurrection at the Capitol so they can use it to put down any claims of election interference because they have used this, or at least to hurt Donald Trump to keep him from being reelected, because this whole insurrection narrative has never been put to bed. Regardless of the 1,000 convictions that you referenced, they never put down this insurrection conspiracy nonsense. And this is the thing, they can't move past it, and they're trying to use it. And if I see people trying desperately to use a narrative and keep it alive, it makes me think that maybe some efforts put behind creating the narrative to begin with. And when you're taking convictions of people for destruction of evidence, not for insurrection, and calling them January 6 convictions, look, I'm just saying it's not honest. It's not an honest discussion. Now we can say that Donald Trump didn't do enough on January 6th. I think he did. I don't think he had control over that mob. He didn't even know what was going on because he was across town. It wasn't until that was ended that he realized what was going on. And
he
after
said
that,
he was going to march with those people. He never
right,
did. He
because it
said
was
he was
supposed to be a
at,
peaceful
for
demonstration,
4 hours.
but other
He
people
was
showed up.
He was watching the television. How do we know this? Stephanie Grisham and others that were in the White House testified under oath what he was doing that
Stephanie
day.
Grisham, who is no longer a fan of Donald Trump's, right?
Yes, so because you're not a
I'm
fan,
saying,
there
how
are
credible
40
is that?
members. There are 40 members of his administration, including 5-star generals, who say he's incompetent. He should never see the White House again. So because they don't want to support, these are people that knew Donald Trump the best. These are people that worked with him. Isn't that important to you? The
No,
people
I
that
don't
worked
believe-
alongside him and know him the best
Yeah.
are the people, many of them that are supporting Kamala Harris. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
No, because one of my biggest criticisms of Donald Trump is that he surrounded himself with the wrong people. The Republican establishment hated Donald Trump from day one,
Gotcha.
sabotaged Donald Trump from day one, but Donald Trump, trying to make deals with people, trying to make peace with the Republican Party, invited all those snakes into his White House, and they
Yeah.
stabbed him in the back the first opportunity they could. So
Okay,
no,
so
I don't hold them as credible people. No.
Okay, so let's go with that. Let's talk about
Sure.
the wrong people, credible people. If Donald Trump is reelected and he wins the election in November, he's
Yeah.
going to have Steve Bannon. He's going to have Stephen Miller. He's going to have Sebastian Gorka and a plethora of convicted felons that are going to be working in the White House with him. And you know that.
Yeah.
Would you call those people, quote, the right people?
You know what? If they're effective and they get the job done and they're loyal to Donald Trump, yeah, they're effective. Because other people stab him in the back and they're not doing the people's work. As far as I'm concerned, if the American people elect Donald Trump and those are the people he picks, the American people are the one who put Donald Trump in charge, and he's entitled to pick who he wants.
He is entitled to pick who he wants. And I would never say that that is not true. But I just want to say for the record, people like Stephanie Grisham and the 5-star generals like General Kelly and General Milley and others, those are the wrong people because they've been honest about what it was like working for Donald Trump. But those are the 5-star generals are the wrong people.
Just
but when I
because
bring
they're
up
5-star generals doesn't mean they don't like Donald Trump and they have an axe to grind.
It's an issue of credibility. And you're saying those people don't have the credibility and they're the wrong people. But then when I bring up convicted felons, people like Stephen Miller and Roger Stone and Sebastian Gorka, these kinds of people.
A convicted felon?
I didn't say all of them were, but some of them are. The Navarros of the world. These are the kinds of people that will be working in his administration. You have no problem with convicted felons working underneath Donald Trump because they might do a good job. But all the 5-star generals and all the heroes and all the officials that worked under Donald Trump in that first administration, they don't have the credibility and they're, quote, the wrong people because they're being honest about what it was like to work with Donald Trump. But you're saying, well, they just have an axe to grind with them. So they all must be lying.
Did you see Harmeet Dillon's interview with Tucker Carlson? Some people have said it's really horrible.
I don't watch Tucker Carlson
Kamala Harris too.
I don't watch Tucker Carlson because he's a white supremacist and he jokes about.
But
I don't watch that kind of stuff.
When Harmeet Dillon, who worked with Kamala Harris, says Kamala Harris is corrupt, is that credible or not? Shouldn't we accept that as true?
And what did he do? What did he say? What did she do that's corrupt? According to one person, by the way,
campaign finance violations. She didn't even vote till she was 30. I mean, there's
okay.
a lot
So not voting until you're 30. So what? I don't understand.
I'm just
Why
saying
is that an issue?
she wasn't engaged in the political process. Then when she does become
And
engaged,
Donald Trump was engaged in the political process when he was 30.
I'm just saying, if we're
I'm
going to
just
take,
saying, you support Donald Trump.
yeah,
To each their own. Was Donald Trump really, besides donating money to Democrats, by the way,
yeah, I know
which
Kamala
I don't hear
Harris.
Republicans ever bring up. So,
No.
I mean, first of all, when you say she's corrupt, you have one person that did an interview. You have
Right.
people that actually worked underneath Donald Trump that say he broke the law and it was dereliction of duty on January 6th. But you want to discredit all those people. But one person does an interview with white supremacist sympathizer Tucker Carlson, and all of a sudden that one person has credibility. But you have a handful of people that worked underneath Donald Trump for years in his administration, and you want to just cross off all those people. Oh, they have an axe to grind with them. Do you see where I'm going with that, David?
Yes, I agree with you. I stand by that. Yes.
Okay. I'm just saying, I mean, one guy doing an interview, and then you have a handful of people in the Trump administration.
Yes.
But anyway, so we at least agree on this, that this was not an attempted assassination.
Yeah, I'm not ready to call it that now.
Yeah,
Unless
this
more
California
facts
sheriff
are
is a
revealed, I'm
complete
not ready
idiot.
to say that.
He should retract. Complete moron. I know you didn't hear the comment, get the hell knocked out of her, that Trump made over the weekend, but I think that's a very serious statement and at a minimum inappropriate. I want to ask you this, though, before we go, David.
Sure.
So after Coachella, as you know, Donald Trump's campaign paid a bus company to have a bunch of these people bust in to see the rally. Okay, no problem, right? Great. They were stranded there for hours because Donald Trump's campaign refused to pay the bill to have that bus company pick up those people, bring them back to their cars. 94 degrees outside, no water, no food, no restrooms. How do we know this? Because it's been verified. It's not a conspiracy theory. Not just what those people had to go through. Many of them have already done interviews with the media, but the bus company has already been asked about this. And on the record, they said, yeah, Trump didn't pay the bill for those buses to bring
Trump
them
was
back.
standing there with his checkbook out, and the bus company was there, like, Mr. Trump, we need you to pay this. And he's like, no, I'm not going to. Or was it people on his team?
No, the campaign decided to pay people to bus them in, but didn't pay them to bus them back. Don't you find that to be repulsive?
I mean, if it was, I got to look into it to find out what went into it. It could have been a miscommunication. It could have been a mistake. It could have been, who knows? I don't know. I don't know enough about it to comment on it. I just don't think it was Donald Trump standing there with his checkbook out going, nah. So, I mean, to say Donald Trump left them stranded, I'm not sure that.
Well, I mean, that's what happened. I mean, his campaign did. This is a reflection of Donald Trump. It's his campaign. And I can tell you, if Kamala Harris made that same mistake, I would call that out on the air today and say, boy, they made a big mistake. To treat your supporters that way is awful and it's wrong. But you see, she doesn't do that because I go to her rallies and his rallies. At her rallies, all sorts of snacks and pizza and water and drink.
Their buses run on time, and they would have all the people they're busted into Kamala's rally.
Donald Trump never runs on time. You know that. I've been to some of his rallies here in Vegas. He's always late, David. He's always late, man. I'm just telling you, his events don't run on time either. Is there anything I can say, David, to change your mind at all on anything? Anything at all?
I mean, what do you want to change my mind on?
I don't know. Don't vote for a rapist. I mean, I don't know. Is there anything I can say? Anything at all, David?
Yeah, that's why I didn't vote for Clinton, and that's why I didn't vote for Biden. That's
but Clinton's not running for. Biden's not a rapist.
No, well,
is he?
Not a rapist? No, I wouldn't say he's a rapist. No.
So what would you say he is then? That's interesting. Tell me.
He's just an old guy.
You know, okay, we agree. That's how he's not running. That's why he's not running. That's why he's not running. Is there anything Donald Trump could do in 2024 right now where you could say, okay, I can't vote for him? Anything at all that he could possibly do? Like if he was, I don't know, like, is there anything? I'm trying to search here. Like if you gave Vladimir Putin a massage on a massage table, would you have a problem? I don't even know. Like what?
I mean, look, if he's a licensed masseuse, I mean, everybody has the right to do this. Listen,
all right, fair enough.
You know I love Donald Trump, and you know I've supported Donald Trump since 2016, and you know
yes,
I've supported him through all of the things that make you angry. I can't think of a thing that would make me vote for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. I can't think of a thing. I really can't think of a thing that would make me, and I haven't voted yet, but I'm close to.
What if he shot somebody on Fifth Avenue?
Well, who did he shoot? Did they
I'm just putting a hypothetical. I didn't say he did, but he did say I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support me. David, are you a part of that group?
Well, it depends on who he shot and why. Oh.
All right. Fair enough.